what does blended and personalized learning mean to you?
Okay.
Right.
Can we stop at that one for a second?
If you want.
I think your prior questions are some of the answers that I would say to
this one.
What's needed for that.
Okay.
And are the essential components of what adult learners and students need to have as their experience. So
nice.
Thinking about engagement and...
Can you scoot over this way?
Sure.
I just want to be able to see a little bit better.
Sure.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
All right.
So thinking about engagement and collaboration as components of what I would want to experience or what I would want learners to experience or would hope they would experience. It's just that's a component part of blended and personalized learning to me. And how that needs to look, I think is really intentional around finding out what people need.
And how do you find out what people need?
I ask them.
You ask them. It's what a novel idea. How do you ask them? Like, what are you asking when you are trying to? Because a lot of people say, people know what they need. We need to sort of draw that out of them. What are you asking when you are saying, what do you need?
We've explored a lot, Ben, in 2 years about trying to really listen deeply to our facilitators, mostly for their own adult professional learning. That's what's surfacing first. Structures, processes, content have largely been like the scope of our questions, and thinking about also using other tools to help us besides what we've designed. We also know of things within our field, so I'm thinking specifically about our professional development new inventory system or information system rather for teachers, that they've done some of their own surveying within that system to find out, I really need to know more about social emotional development, or that's a curiosity for me. And so how are we combining what they're learning in different places and with what we're asking is the challenge that's in front of us.
And making those connections for you.
And what we've learned the most going into this year is choice is critically important.
What kinds of choices do you feel like are most important for teachers?
Engaging content, things they're interested in, things they can apply. They have a deep, deep dedication to wanting to engage children the best that they can. And they feel like they're ready to wrestle with those questions, I guess, and they feel like, now give me the opportunity to engage in some content that I can then apply. So also connected, I don't know if that was in one of the prior slides, but never anything in isolation, right? Like they want to connect it to, not only each other, but the work. So if I'm working in blocks, say if I have a deep desire to learn more about how to engage students with math content through block play, early learning, how is that all connected in the lessons I might plan, and who else is interested in exploring that topic with me, so that I can maybe learn and ask questions of my peers that are grappling with the same thing. And then we can try things out and come back and check in with each other, right?
So how do you get teachers to collaborate on that level? Do you have to set up structures for that to happen? What do you need to do in order to allow for those strong conversations about block play to sort of start to happen?
I think we used to think that way. I know I used to think that way. That it had to be every other Thursday and blah blah blah. I don't feel that way anymore. And
Why not? What has changed that for you?
The way we use time, the way time uses us, or that
okay.
there isn't
all right.
any.
Fair enough.
And how we get snippets of information that can be really impactful and valuable in 2 minutes, And we didn't used to have that as a form of what I grew up with, say, or even in the first 20 years of my teaching career. You watched a 30-minute video and maybe that was a novel and new idea because the National Institute for Young Children said, here's this great 30-minute video on block play, and it was 30 minutes. Now I might be able to link to an article or a quick 2-minute video on YouTube that shows a teacher or kids being engaged, and that's more impactful to my learning than a 2-hour session on Thursday night.
Yep.
So I'm really appreciative of the opportunity.
So how is it that we can, because we've valued those 2-hour sessions on Thursday night. We have set aside time for it. We have, a lot of times paid people to be a part of that experience, right? How is it that we can value the 2-minute watching of a video and application in the classroom in either the same way or maybe even a better way than what we used to value in our PD?
I don't know. I think the thing I would want to explore is how are people doing that? So that could be a great question for us to explore.
Yeah.
Right? And how we, like if I think about myself, right, as a person who engages in maybe social media to say, go to that 2-minute YouTube article on leadership, right?
Right.
Or video or whatever, and do I talk to anyone about it? Do I just mull it over? Like, what do I do, right? Sometimes I forward it on.
Right.
Sometimes I link it, it's linked to something else that I print out and I share, like with our support team members, and go, oh, this struck me this way with, diving deeper into our equity work. What are your connections to it? But it certainly lends itself to more of this feeling of being on the fly. But the level of engagement that I think you get because it truly piqued your interest is deeper. And I think that's more important.
Yeah, I'm always struck by the Universal Design for Learning, and a number of other people have used this method, but thinking about the ways in which you access content, engage with it, and express it, right? Access, engage, express. Do you feel like that's kind of what you're doing with, like when you see the video, is you're sort of deciding how you want to access, you're engaging with it to some degree, and you're expressing it either through sharing or through sort of the way in which it falls into your practice in the future. Do you see that, or is there a different model that you kind of use?
Yes, I do, and I like how you put the words to that about those simple actions. I think helping people to understand that simply kind of takes the mystery out of it too.
Right. What's going on here?
Yeah, I think we all came through very scholarly programs, right, to be in education, and we love learning, right, and we love teaching, and there's that art and science lens of it, so it's mysterious, right, and things like that make it like, no, this is just simply what I do, and that might help me to engage at a level that I'm aware that I'm doing that, and maybe we start talking that way then, and engaging differently, and acknowledging, oh, you acted on that. That's helped us just learn more about that leadership trait, or block play, or.
I like that a lot. I think we explored a number of these questions here. So the last one, though, are, what are the questions that you find yourself asking, that you keep on asking of others or of yourself?
Some of the how. How do we go about this and shift this? How do we build our individual capacity? If there are gaps there for trying these new structures, and or, jumping in and being reflective about it. How are we slowing down enough to do that? Is a question we explore a lot.
That one I'm particularly interested in. How is it that we can allow ourselves enough time to really grapple with some big ideas, as well as to sort of see what it looks like in implementation, and not always reach for the next big thing. You know, we're actually diving deep enough into this big thing.
Yes. I'm thinking about two things.
Mm-hmm.
One, I read an article through a blended opportunity on my phone last night about do elementary teachers need to have more intensive time with content. And it was an explore in two countries that are leading in education, right? Japan and Finland.
Yep.
It's a fascinating little article, and it just made me think about how they don't really, part of what they talk about was that deliberate practice with one area, getting really good at one thing. And so how are we exploring that within our own context, taking that to like our ECE conference the next week for 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
We've built in debrief time the next day.
Good.
And then additional like reflective time about all the connectedness.
Yep.
Because it's not meant to be in isolation. So what did we and how do we listen to what our folks will have said after 2 days to thoroughly apply or to go deeper September, October, right? And not have it be just, okay, that's done, now let's plan for September. Right. No, that should be in all along and very deeply done. But we're still exploring that, and there's...
Yes, how? To me, that is the biggest question that I hear you asking throughout all of this is how? How do we do this? And I think there's a lot of value in continuing to ask that question, sort of ongoing. Thank you very much for the time and for